Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Today I think I'm going to turn this old book that I thrifted into a concertina art journal. So come along as we cut up an old book, cut up some papers, and make some art. Well, I started this video thinking I was recording and I wasn't, so I am so sorry that you missed me cutting the text block out of this cover. But I can show you pretty much what I did. You open up the page and I cut down here, making sure not to cut through the spine. Just this was one sheet of paper and that's what attaches the text block to the cover, and it has some kind of canvasy fabric on it as well, so I had to cut through that to release the text block. So my plan for this video or this book project is to make a concertina, or some people call it an accordion book. It will be pages made out of one long strip that's all folded accordion style and attached into this cover. So I started collecting pages that were a little thicker that I had on hand that will be the basis of the pages, because I want them to be able to hold up to the folds back and forth and opening and closing and everything, so they need to be a little bit thicker. I was gifted this print because a friend had thrifted a frame that she wanted, and it had this pretty tired looking print in it, and sorry to whoever the artist is, it was not an original. I did make sure it was not an original painting, but I have started to paint over it already. So this is the other half of this print. This, some people call a masterboard, where you kind of make these larger sheets that have collage and layers and paint and color and lots of mark making or stencil work or whatever people want to do on it. And then you have that as a basis that you can either do what I'm going to do today and turn it into pages. You could turn it into a journal cover. You could cut them up and collage it into your work. But I grabbed that to possibly include, and I could paint over this as well. I have these two boards, or backgrounds, not boards. They are just on watercolor paper and collaged with a little bit of stencil work. These were backgrounds that I had created last summer for a painting collection, and these two did not get turned into paintings for that collection, but I really liked the neutrals with this burgundy. And neutrals are just a nice background. Even though there's a lot going on, they can kind of disappear very easily under your paint. And so those are potentially, I could cut these down and use them in the book as background or basis of making my pages. I had two pieces of slightly thicker craft paper. And then I had, this is a print or a reproduction that I had made into a calendar of my artwork from a couple of years ago. And I thought, oh, that looks around the right size for end sheets. It's almost exact. It's off by like, ooh, maybe just a millimeter or so. So I thought these could be end sheets, or they might just be like the front and the back, or it could just be folded and included in my concertina. I'm not sure yet. If you have been around here before on this channel, you know that I tend to make my books by winging it and playing along as I go, not really following all of the rules of bookbinding, but using my skills in bookbinding and my knowledge of bookbinding as background tools for making art journals. And because they're art journals, I don't really care that they're not formally made. I try to make them to the best of my ability and also be creative. And there are journals that are going to get painted on and torn up and re-glued and who knows what, because, and so they'll be worked in, and they're not fancy official books. Some supplies I just grabbed to start, which I'm sure I will reach for more things. I have various tapes, masking tape. This is a ochre colored masking tape. This is a fabric tape, usually for first aid. And then gel medium. I have a silicone brush spreader, which is new to me. I know a lot of people use it for applying their gel medium, and so I thought I would give it a try. If I can't stand it, I might go back to my regular brush. I have a knife, which I used already and didn't film. And then I have a ruler, which will help me tear down my pages. One other thing I did earlier, before I realized I wasn't recording, was I measured my page sizes. So they're 10.5 centimeters wide, 18 centimeters tall. My spine is only 1.5 centimeters thick, so it's not going to be an overly large book because I want to work with the constraints of this spine. Other books, sometimes I have cut out the spine and rebuilt them bigger, but I'm gonna try to work thinner. As you know, I tend to get carried away on my pages and can make books quite chunky quite quickly. So we're gonna see if I can work within the constraints of the cover that we already have. So first step will be to start tearing my pages down to size. So just because my pages will finish at this size doesn't mean each page needs to be torn down to this size. If, for instance, this piece is around 21 centimeters, or if I went all the way edge to edge, 23 centimeters, I can fold this and it can become 2 pages. I don't have to cut them because what I'm doing is going to make a very long strip of 18-inch tall paper, and then the folds will be at the 10.5 centimeter. I said 18 centimeter. Anyway, hopefully you kind of know what I mean. If not, you will get the picture once I start cutting things up. I think I might also add scissors to my pile and a cutting mat. So let's get cutting. I think I'm going to tear my pages down to size, most likely, not just cut. And I can't totally decide if I want to utilize this master board in here or not. So I'm going to tear up the other stuff first and see how much I have to work with. Adding it all to my supply list for helping fold. I'm using a grid ruler to help me square to my folds. I'm going to cut this edge actually, because I want them to attach together. So I decided I'm going to use that fabric tape, that medical fabric tape, to attach all my pages, mostly because it is really nice to paint over and have things attached to, like glued on and stuff, versus masking tape can sometimes be a little slick. So the best practice for when attaching tape, when you really want it to adhere well, is to burnish it. So I'm going to use my bone folder to really attach the tape to my paper. The fabric tape can be a little fragile if you're a little too rough or a little too heavy-handed, but just do even pressure and be careful. So before I add any more pages to the accordion section, I'm going to trim my end sheet page down to size, because that's going to be attached to my accordion fold out of signatures. And I'm going to figure out how I'm going to attach that and how I want that to look before continuing to add more bulk to my book. So I know I want that first inner page to be attached to my cover, and then I want the accordion to come off it. So I think I'm going to tape it together still, but that first page be totally glued down. The back page I think is just going to have to be glued just to the cover and not attached to the accordion, or else I won't be able to work on the signatures double-sided. I do decide that I want to add some more pages to my accordion signature to add a little bit more to work on, and I think that I can afford the extra thickness in my book. It's not actually as chunky yet as I thought it would be, so I'm going to add a few extra pages here. Here I am going to tape on that first end sheet to the start of my accordion signature so that my accordion or concertina, I don't know how to call this, I'm going to call it the accordion signature. That's how it's going to be attached into the book. So attaching it to this end sheet, and then that end sheet painting is going to be glued into the front cover. So I'm just trying to figure out how many pages I need. This will be glued down to the inside cover. And then this is going to be loose. Yeah, I think that's going to be loose. And then this will be glued here, but not attached. So I do need to fill in something for the back color, the back spine, and strengthen it a little bit. And I think I want a few more pages because that's pretty skinny. So let's see what else I have to cut up for pages. So I think I am going to use this thing. So I'm measuring to the length of this straight cut one, not off the edges of this. And then using this ruler to square it up. That is not square at all. Let me fold this before I cut my next one. Oh, it's so much shorter. Oh, that's fine. So unfortunately that didn't fold into 3. It wasn't long enough, but that's okay. I'm just going to trim this off to have a straight edge. I do really like the tree. Sorry, little hockey guy. I feel like you're going to have to go. And I think I am going to do it this way, so I'll have a cut straight edge. I need to cut that edge straight as well. So I will cut them both at the same time. part of my rule breaking in my bookbinding, especially when I'm making art journals that are like this, is I don't fold on the grain always. Clearly, I folded these in two totally different directions, but you can tell even through these folds which has a better, crisper fold. This was folded on the grain of the paper, and this was against the grain, which is why it pops. I kind of like having these brown in between, so I might have to get one more piece to put in between these two. Although I kind of wish I had spaced everything out better, but that's fine, don't worry. I'm not worried. I think I am actually going to just cut that down because I do like just a single page repeat. Oh my gosh, I cut that so terribly. Well, it's going to be a slightly skinnier page. I'm not sure what happened there. Yikes, that was so bad. Okay. So I need to figure out how I'm going to attach this in here. And then, oh, I need to do that spine strengthening first. I might just use some of this. a little short, but that's actually not the end of the world. Okay. Going to get some PVA glue. Okay, let's see if I like this thing. Not sure how I feel about this spatula thing. Okay, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Oh my goodness. There is a chance that maybe that was just too thick and it's just going to need some breaking in, but all right, not ideal, but especially with the glue coming through. It'll do. Still deciding how big. I think that is enough pages so we can attach this. What I want to do actually first is test out if this was glued all the way down. Don't know if these clips are going to work for what I want. Sure that that would attach. Okay. Okay, so that's going to be attached to the inside front cover. And I think for security, I would like to tape this to the spine. Just for cohesiveness, I'm going to use this medical tape again. I actually really like this. We will see how well it holds up. I think I might actually put these staples because I should do some pictures on it. I think because I don't really like the color of that, I'm gonna see how this looks in there instead. It's not quite wide enough. I like how that looks with that little bit there. Okay, that feels good. So you can flip through all the pages like this. And then they can just keep going. You can work on both sides. It will be a fun little journal, and I think I might add a ribbon closure or something, but I might do that in a video part 2. So thank you so much for joining me.